In Craig Melvin's new book, Pops, Learning to be a Son and Father, the Today News anchor is telling the stories of inspiring fathers he's met throughout his career and the deeply personal story of his own who struggled with alcohol addiction. Craig opened up to people about his childhood and shared how writing this book gave him the opportunity to understand his father better.
It wasn't probably until I was in kindergarten or first grade where I started to notice that he was, drinking more than some of the other dads and other men that I knew. And I remember distinctly, occasionally my mom would, give him some grief about having too many beers or whatever. And I remember being 5 or 6 and being in the car with him. He had, as you know, the 73 Pontiac Le Mans and no seatbelts, mind you. This is before the era of not even lap belts. But he's got like a cup wedged between the two seats and he's got like his Budweiser in the cup. I saw him pour it in and he's like drinking and driving, literally drinking and driving. And I remember at an early age thinking, God, if mom gives you grief at home for drinking, in the car, this is smoking a cigarette and drinking and smoking a cigarette. And I remember when I went to see him in rehab, because you have to, make amends with folks face to face. I flew down to Statesboro and as soon as I saw him, I knew he was a different person. And his first order of business was to give me the letter that he had written about his life, about why he was the kind of man, kind of father that he was, not is now, but was, how he came to be. It was, in some ways, it was an origin letter. It is a treasured keepsake, to say the least.
Growing up with a dad who battled alcoholism greatly impacted Craig and influenced how he parents his own children. The author shares how his relationship with his father, who has been sober for 3 years, has evolved.
He's going 180, and in many ways, the childhoods that we didn't have, and I'm speaking for myself and my younger brother, our kids are getting those. My father is more engaged with his grandchildren than he ever was with us. I am not as hard on myself as I was on my father, knowing what I now know. Every generation does just a little bit better, like my dad didn't know who his dad was. And in some ways, I didn't really know who my dad was, even though he was present. I didn't know who he was until sort of later in life, and have come to really appreciate who he is.
For more on Craig Melvin, pick up this week's issue of People on Newsstands Friday.